Hello, welcome to the Cinema Savvy Movie Podcast, the channel for film reviews, discussions, and everything in between. I'm Chris Garner, joined with my co-host Tayte in the Hour, and today we'll be doing a review on, I guess, a sort of another Oscar movie. This is Sicario. Yeah. This has recently just been released on DVD as of today. This is the Tuesday, if this is when this one goes up. It's directed by Denis Villeneuve, and it stars Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, and Josh Brolin.
The State Department is pulling an agent that specializes in responding to escalated cartel activity.
This is not my department. FBI!
You want to be a part of this?
Do we get an opportunity at the men responsible for today?
The men who are really responsible for today.
Every day across that border, people are killed with his blessing. To find them would be like discovering a vaccine.
Nothing will make sense to your American ears.
But in the end, you will understand.
The 3 Academy Awards it's been going up for. It's up for Best Cinematography, which I think, sadly, it's probably going to lose to a little film called The Revenant. Best Original Score and Best Sound Editing. I remember
in the BAFTAs, it's Benicio del Toro is also nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and I was really surprised when he wasn't nominated for the actual Oscars.
Especially after seeing this film for the first time. I mean, I unfortunately missed this on the big screen. I have no idea why, because I remember seeing the trailer and thinking it looked absolutely fantastic. But I can't remember exactly what happened. I think we reviewed something else, and it was just one of those films that I just never got around to. But I have now, and we're going to get into it now. But I think that Benicio del Toro definitely deserved to have been included, at least, in the Best Supporting.
I'm not going to lie, but personally, from where I saw it, like, I waited and waited and waited. I didn't know what to see in the cinema, and like, it was always there on in the cinema, and I heard okay things about it, not like amazing things. And then I saw it, I think, a couple of days before it like got dropped from my cinema, and I was like, oh, that's a good film. And then I watched it again recently because it's getting re-released. It got re-released for unlimited viewers at Cineworld, and I was like, oh, what the hell? I missed the entire film. What? And I really enjoyed it more the second time round than I did the first time round.
Yeah, and this is a movie that I definitely want to give multiple viewings to, because it is sort of a lot taken on the first one. But I remember seeing the trailer. I can't remember when exactly. I think this came out around September time.
Yeah,
I think this one did. And I can't remember what other trailers or like other films I was seeing around that time, but I remember seeing a trailer for Sicario. And I'm never a massive fan of sort of like crime thrillers, because I usually find them very samey, or they're just not my kind of movies. But
yeah,
I don't know what it was about this one, but I remember seeing the trailer going, this actually looks really goddamn good.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm confused myself. Like, why didn't I go and see this movie? It was fantastic. But obviously I've seen it on DVD now, and I really wish I'd have seen this on the big screen, because there are certain set pieces in this film I could only imagine with like the sound in it, and it has gone up for best sound, and just how it builds tension in this film.
Tension in this film is done brilliantly.
Yeah.
I think it's the one thing that really does shine through in this film. That and its acting abilities, like the tension created in certain situations and certain scenes is just brilliant. I mean, I was sat on the edge of my seat, like, the second viewing. The first viewing, I was kind of laid back in my chair. But the second viewing, I was totally into it. It really did have me gripped.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll sort of... I should have said this at the start of the review, but I know it's on DVD now, but because as it's a new release and some people may have not checked it out, this will be spoiler-free, and then we'll get into a few spoilers later on, but we'll let you know when that's coming up so we don't give anything away. But the basic plot outline on IMDb...
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah,
it's
go
me.
for it. It's
I always read out the IMDb.
Thing. I'm sorry, I'm still in the go for it, man.
An idealistic FBI agent is enlisted by a government task force to aid in the escalating war against drugs at the border area between the US and Mexico.
You see, this is why I let you read that out, because you have a much more silky, smooth voice than I would read that out. But, yeah, so the plot is as I say, with crime thrillers, I'm never sort of fussed by them, but I don't know, there was something about this one that caught my attention, and...
This is somewhere between a crime thriller and a war thriller.
Yeah. Yeah, and we said about earlier that I think that this really, what sort of gripped me with this is that I actually cared about all of the characters and the situation that was going on. Emily Blunt, to me, was a relative newcomer that I only really started getting into her stuff from Edge of Tomorrow.
Really?
And yeah, like I'd heard her name come up a few times, but I hadn't really seen her in anything else. I'm just going through a back catalogue of films now.
I'd have to say that, like, I've been watching Emily Blunt for a long time. Like, I saw her in The Devil Wears Prada. Don't ask why I watched that film. I saw her in Gulliver's Travels, which I thought was quite good. The Adjustment Bureau, Looper as well. I quite liked her in Looper.
Looper, I watched after Edge of Tomorrow. You see, so
I was surprised to see her pop up again in Edge of Tomorrow, because Looper was like a 2 big year gap, and then she's now appearing in everything. Yeah,
but as I said, like Edge of Tomorrow was the first thing I saw in, and I remember seeing that film going, this woman is amazing. Yeah. She needs to be in every film ever, and now it apparently.
However, the problem is though she's actually put on IMDb the date where she'll suddenly become a bad actress, and that is 2018 when Romeo and Juliet Sherlock Gnomes comes out, which is the sequel to the original Romeo and Juliet, and it's a sequel based on the tales of Sherlock Holmes, which by God sounds like the worst idea for a film of all time.
So is it actually going to be called Romeo and Juliet?
Sherlock. Still? It's called the original film was called Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
This one's called Romeo and Juliet Sherlock Gnomes.
Because, you know, Sherlock Holmes and Shakespeare go completely hand in hand.
And gnomes. Don't forget gnomes, because everyone loves gnomes.
Oh, that title physically hurts me with the puns in that. But no, in Edge of Tomorrow, I mean, she was fantastic. She was probably, I don't know if she was one of my favourite things. She was definitely one of my favourite characters in that film, I think. And after seeing that movie, I was like, this is definitely an actress to watch because of her performance in that. And then I went back and watched Looper. That was one I never got around to seeing when that was released in 2012.
Yeah.
Gave that a watch, thought she was phenomenal in that as well. And then it gets this one, and she's really the heart and soul of the film. She does sort of drop out of the film, I would say, in like the last quarter.
Yeah.
And the focus sort of shifts to a different character. But I think ultimately how the story wraps up, I'm not going to give anything away, but it does come full circle back to her, and I think that it is quite a fantastic character arc for her character.
No, she really does act this very well. Without revealing too much, she acts tough, badass, and also scared and almost confused. Unknowing, confused, yeah. Just like the viewing audience until the end. And it's just, I don't know, she perfectly suited the role. Yeah. Like, I couldn't think of anyone else at the moment who could act that role.
Not as well as she could.
No,
anyway.
Not as well as she did. The FBI agent turned army officer. And there are a couple of scenes in the film where you truly do get to know her. And in those scenes, it just becomes like, you feel like you are, like, there. And that's all because she's done that.
I mean, the opening scene is just fantastic.
God, yeah.
The situation they find themselves in and sort of the reactions of her fellow team are very, very believable, and you sort of put yourself in that situation right from the get-go. But the sort of character she plays, as IMDb says, an idealistic FBI agent, I really kind of hate characters like that usually. The very sort of plucky, naive, by-the-book characters. I just find them very sort of underwritten and just very easy. Just, you know, that it's the archetypal character for the sort of protagonist. But I think that it makes sense for her character, and I like the journey she went on from that, and then sort of as she changes and learns that the rules aren't so clear-cut, there's a lot of moral grey area within the FBI and the detective forces, and sort of they're making agreements with the cartel and everything like that. I thought that was fascinating to watch, and sort of how that resonates with a character. And,
no, I completely agree.
Josh Brolin is sort of the one who calls her in, like he sees her, he picks her out from the team with a partner, and I really wish I knew what the actor's name was who plays.
He was in what was it? Johnny English Reborn.
Yes, that's
and
it.
he was also in Kick-Ass 2.
If you want to sort of check his name while I carry on, because I really want to get.
Wait a sec, Chris. My screen is gone.
We're experiencing some technical difficulties. No, but he sort of picks her out, and she brings her partner along, and Josh Brolin is great in this movie as well. He's very intimidating, as Josh Brolin always is, unless he's in The Goonies, in which case he's just awesome and likable.
So, like, Josh Brolin, I've really enjoyed him this year. I mean, he was brilliant in Everest. I mean, you enjoyed Everest as well, didn't you?
Yes,
like,
yeah.
He was a
one of the
very
best
good
things
character in that. And I'm not going to lie, but he's only getting better. I'm not sure how long his film catalogue has been. I mean, No Country for Old Men. Other than that, I didn't really know him much. I mean...
His first movie was The Goonies in 1985. Really? Yeah. Which is kind of amazing, because I love that movie.
And then he wasn't really in any movies, really, until... I'm just looking now. It's taking me a while.
This is like Hollow Man, which was the Invisible Man film,
and
wasn't
then nothing really until No Country for Old Men.
No, and then he sort of made a big comeback from there, and now he seems to crop up every now and then in pretty big films, actually. Yeah. So he's doing well.
And he's still got he's in Infinity War.
Yes, as Thanos.
But do you know, I'm looking forward to him. The next film that he's going to be in is going to be Hail Caesar. Really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've been hearing that's been getting mixed things, because that's already out in the US, isn't it?
Well, with the freaking Coen brothers, they always get mixed reviews. It's just like Wes Anderson films. Some people like it, some people really, really don't.
The only thing that's not filling me with too much confidence is that is a Coen brothers movie, and we both know my stand on the Coen brothers.
Well, it's either going to end up like The Lady Killers, or it's going to end up like No Country for Old Men or Fargo. So you've got the two spectrums there. So choose.
And that's our pre-release review of Hail Caesar. But no, Brolin's character in this, I like it. He's the typical sort of character who he doesn't play by the rules. He is the one who's sort of at the head of the sort of moral grey area, I would say. And you get that impression from him from the very start. He's just no nonsense, and he sort of keeps Emily Blunt's character in the dark through most of it. But I thought that element worked a lot, because I love films that do this. I've mentioned this on the podcast before, where you sort of, throughout the script and the story, you learn as the main character is learning. I think that's a good way to do it. And sort of at Josh Brolin's disposal is Benicio del Toro's character, who plays a character called Alejandro Gillick.
Before we go into Benicio del Toro, quickly, Daniel Kaluuya. Kaluuya?
Yes.
Kaluuya? Yes. Daniel Kaluuya. Who is the... person who plays Reggie
Black
Wayne.
Death in Kick-Ass 2.
Black Death in Kick-Ass 2. Or Dave in Date Night, which is a short film.
That's where I've seen him from. Psychoville, which was a TV show in the UK between 2009 and 2011.
I did not watch that.
Yeah, I knew I recognised him from somewhere. That's where I know him from.
Okay.
But, yeah, side note. But Benicio del Toro, I'm trying to think of all the films I've seen him in. I've obviously seen Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
I'd seen Sin City, a few other ones as well here and there. But wow,
have you never seen Snatch?
That is up there on some of the films I need to see.
Oh,
I see it on every
my
list.
God, you haven't seen Snatch?
Nope, not yet, not currently.
Okay, so in the comments section, how much does everyone hate Chris right now?
I'm sorry, I will get round to it.
We've also got him playing for the obvious of us all. He is going to be in the new Star Wars film.
Yes,
and
Star Wars Episode 8, yep.
And he's also going to be in the new Guardians of the Galaxy, because he was the Collector in the first one.
Just the most flamboyant character probably in the entire MCU. But yeah, and from his performance in this, I mean, I've seen him act before. I know that he's a great actor. I can't wait to see which character he's going to be playing in Star Wars, and I hope his character is probably not going to be as ruthless as his character in this one, due to the fact that, Star Wars won't be rated 15. But wow, some of the stuff that his character does in this, he is intense. There's a lot of moments where there'll be periods where he doesn't even need to talk,
If I can just, without spoiling anything here, but by saying the words "the dinner scene," if they have that in Star Wars, I'll be happy.
Just have it set in the Cantina Band and make it a slightly more violent version of the Han and Greedo situation. Yeah, but he was just fantastic in this movie, and I don't think they could have got, as you were saying about Emily Blunt, in terms of this character, I don't think they could have found anyone better than him. No. He plays it with such an intensity, but as the film goes on, again, I'm not going to give anything away, but you do learn a lot more to his character's backstory, and oh my God, this is like a more tragic backstory than Eric Draven's in The Crow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you sort of see where he's coming from throughout the film, and sort of how these situations can change a person. And his...
Should we talk about some of the non-spoiler situations?
Yeah, sure, go for it, man.
So, without saying anything here, there are a couple of scenes where Benicio del Toro's character is basically the almost, I'd say, half translator, half inside man, would we say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For the Mexican police, and he's both working for the basically U.S. border force and also the Mexican police. And the situations they get in, there's one point where they have to go into Mexico to retrieve a witness, and he's quiet throughout the entire scene. Like, he just sits in the background, he's just sat there, and then as soon as action comes, he gets up, he doesn't say a single word, but you could just tell. I don't know, it's very hard to explain, but...
Yeah, it's like a switch goes off in his head.
His actions happen without him having to speak many words, just like John Wick.
Yeah, exactly like John Wick, and they're sort of very similar characters in terms of their sort of like the hired hitmen kind of characters. I guess, would you call him a henchman in this movie? He sort of serves the role as one, but then he sort of becomes his own character.
Yes.
And this is where, towards the end of the film, I was saying that Emily Blunt sort of drops out the movie. This is where his character takes over. And what a glorious quarter of the movie that part is, where the character mode switches. But as I said, we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
Just yet.
It's one of those characters where I personally didn't trust him when we first met him, because I never trust silent characters.
I just never trust Benicio del Toro.
No, until you know their motivations, you don't trust silent characters.
Yeah.
And I think that added to the character.
Definitely,
because there was always a sense of mystery about it, and it added to the film.
Yeah, and so that's sort of like the story of the film and the characters. Just in terms of the actual craft of the movie,
cinematography I quite enjoyed, but it wasn't stunning. Let's just say that. There was that one scene where, this isn't spoiling anything, they're going into a night mission, basically, and they're walking across like an open space, and the sun's setting, and they're walking from kind of the sunset into the shadows. That was the only thing that really caught me cinematography-wise. But just like Carol, I think there are better films out there for cinematography that should have been nominated.
Yeah, and Roger Deakins did the cinematography for this movie. He's worked with the Coen brothers on loads of their projects.
Yeah.
With Sam Mendes as well.
The problem is with the cinematography in this film, I've seen Brooklyn, and that cinematography was amazing, and it didn't get nominated for anything.
And we continue our tradition of bigging up Brooklyn as much as we can.
Go watch Brooklyn.
Yes, if it's still in a theatre near you, please go and see that movie and help it, because if you do, there's a good chance that there's going to be a spin-off TV show produced, which you sent me a link for the other day.
Julie Waltz is the main character.
Which I really want to see, because her character was so good in that movie.
Especially if it gets like Netflix kind of levels of...
Yes. I honestly, I can see it taking off.
Yeah.
It's got a great cast, and I think that the plot can go some cool places with that. So yeah, go see Brooklyn. But going back to Sicario, the director, Denis Villeneuve, there's one movie he did in 2013, which I still need to see, which looks so good. I heard good things about it. It was Prisoners with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes. I believe from the time we were recording this, that was on TV the other day, and I have it recorded.
Yes, I need to get that movie watched at some point. Obviously, now he's done Sicario. His next project actually sounds really cool. It's a sci-fi called Story
next
of
film,
Your Life.
Untitled Blade Runner project.
I've got one for 2016 coming up on here.
I've got
before
one
then.
for no, that's 2016 as well. Untitled Blade Runner project.
So he's got two coming out. Wow.
Yeah.
This one's a sci-fi with Amy Adams, and it's about she plays a linguistic expert, and she's sort of like called in to sort of treat with them and find out why the aliens are there, which sounds really cool. I love me some good sci-fi. Yeah, and he's got the reins to Blade Runner, which is if you watched our channel,
if you watch Sicario, then I think this is a good call.
Yeah. Definitely, I think it's in safe hands. And if you watch the channel, one of our crew members, Tom Woods, he did a sort of breakdown of Blade Runner.
Breakdown, I must say, amazing.
Yeah, he loves that movie. You can check that video out.
It made me want to watch the movie again so much that I watched the movie again.
So that's a success right there. So please check that video out and give him some support. That's going to be a series coming to the channel. There's going to be more episodes on that one. But that's big enough for the channel. Let's get back to Sicario. Can we
please talk a little bit more about the spoilers now, actually? Because it's very difficult to talk about this film without going into spoiler territory, because I'd say the opening scene, without saying anything, the bridge scene, because that was in the trailer, and the end quarter, huge chunks of the films here are all spoilers, and especially the chemistry, or shall we say clashes between different characters in the film at certain points.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should move on to spoilers. What we'll do is we'll sort of sum up thoughts on it now, and then we'll move into our spoiler section. So if you want to give your recommendation on Sicario, would you recommend it? Would you recommend people pick it up now it's on DVD and Blu-ray?
Yes. Definitely pick it up. Definitely watch it. It's going to be one of those films where people will be talking about it action film-wise for this year. It'll be Mad Max Fury Road, then John Wick, then this. And I think that this holds its own. I mean, It really does. And it's a brilliant story. Very powerful. It's just a good overall film. Brilliant performances with some badass characters, some clashes and stuff like that. I would say that it was probably this year's Top Gun, but set in Mexico and on the ground.
Oh, if only it had the soundtrack of Top Gun, this would
Highway
be
to
They had the chance for that when they're on the bridge, when they're on the highway. Oh, that would have been great. You mentioned this with we both mentioned this actually with Ex Machina.
Yeah. That
we think in a few years that could become a cult hit. I actually think this one has the chance to as well. I'm looking at the budget. So the budget was on 30 mil, which is actually pretty goddamn decent considering the result of what we got from that.
And it made 80.6 mil, yes?
Which is, it's a fair profit, but I do think that this is going to be carried with word of mouth. Hopefully, Oscar season gets it a few more people looking at it. Sadly, I don't think it's probably going to win in any of the categories it's nominated for.
No.
But that's not a slight against the movie. This is, without a doubt, if I could go back and do my top 5 films of 2015, this may have actually have got on the list.
If I would go back and do mine, I would have placed Brooklyn higher, but this would probably be a definite honourable mention.
Yeah. And with this film as well, it's made me excited for a few things. It's, as we said, Benicio del Toro. This is sort of
his entrance into the Star Wars universe, I'd say.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing which character he's going to play, whether it's a character from sort of the previous canon or from the TV shows or whatever they're going to do with it. I can't wait to see
Benicio del Toro plays Jar Jar Binks.
You know what? I'd be cool with that, because if he plays it like his character in this, that gives more credence to the rumor that we're going to have Darth Jar Jar.
You heard it here first, guys. Benicio del Toro, Jar Jar Binks. Chris is okay with that.
Oh God, I'm sorry, my fellow Star Wars fans, if you're watching this. But yeah, it's also made me excited for Emily Blunt's future projects.
Yes.
Including, well, actually, no, not including Romeo and Juliet. I can't go
sorry,
as far as that.
Romeo and Juliet. What was it? Nomeo Holmes or something like that? Oh, Sherlock Gnomes.
Sherlock Gnomes, yeah. And,
it would have been worse if it was called Nomeo Holmes. Nomeo Gnomes. Oh, God. Get it out of my head.
Let's move on
I'm
from that.
Looking forward to more Josh Brolin as well. He really did shine out this year, and this is the full comeback from him, I'd say.
And Denis Villeneuve as well. I mean, Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Yes.
As well as his next sci-fi project, because I've only read the plot description of that just before we hit record, and it sounds fantastic.
Prisoners.
You what? Sorry.
We need to both watch Prisoners.
Yes, we do. Obviously, we probably won't have a review on that unless people want to see one, but it has been out for quite a while. But it has made me excited for those.
Possibly a film club later on in the year.
Yeah, definitely can do that. And I'm rambling, but if you haven't seen Sicario, definitely pick it up. I don't think you'll be disappointed. If you're a fan of action crime thrillers, I think this is one of the best you'll probably see in recent years.
Yes.
Solid cast, solid plot, everything like that. And it's at a decent running time as well. Like, these sort of films tend to go on for quite a while, like 2.5 hours, 2 hours 40. This sits at a nice, comfortable 2 hours, and I think that's the perfect length for it. I think any shorter and it would have felt rushed. Any longer and it would have started to drag a little bit. Because it does get quite character focused towards the end.
I feel like the pacing was the only thing that may have let it down slightly.
Yeah.
There were some scenes which really did drag out and which shouldn't have done, and some scenes which went way too quick where it would have done better to have longer tension.
I can see that, yeah.
Let's
I don't think it was a massive problem for me, but do you want to get into spoilers now?
Yeah, we're going spoilers. Should we start at the start?
Okay, so this is your final warning. If you haven't seen Sicario and you want to see it, go see it, come back to us, stop the video, pause the video, whatever you got to do, and come back to us, because we are now going into spoilers, so we're going to just ruin the hell out of this movie if you haven't seen it.
So,
okay, go.
The start of the film was creepy, disturbing, action-filmed, and reminded me of the movie Seven somehow.
Yeah. No, I got those vibes as well. It's like the guy who's been chained. Yeah.
And that was all I could think of during that scene. I was expecting a jump scare like that. So basically, to explain it for people who are still watching who haven't seen it, or people who are watching and need to know context if you haven't seen it in a while, they raid a house. They think it's just drug dealers. There are dead bodies in the wall. More than one. About 100 or something like that, they said. I cannot remember. Let me find the numbers.
But no, they sort of like bring the team in, don't they?
Dozens and dozens of corpses. Beautiful.
Yeah.
All in the walls and stuff like that. They've finally raided everyone out. She almost gets shot in the head, and somehow the guy misses, and that's how they find the bodies. And then she goes outside to throw up, and someone opens the shed and gets blown up.
Yeah.
I think that was a very explosive start, very action film start, and kind of sets the tone for the film immediately. It will be disturbing, it will be shocking, and it will be action filled.
Yeah, I liked that. I think that, but even though you say it's action filled, I think it still retained a lot of the pace that's sort of carried throughout the rest of the film.
Jesus, a lot of tension in that opening scenes.
Tension, and they still keep it very sort of procedural based as well. Yeah. Like, you've got the team, you've got them whole scoping out the area and going about their.
The one problem I have with that scene is those guys in that house who were there. Wouldn't the smell disturb them, like majorly? You've got about 20 rotting bodies in the walls.
They were behind the walls, though, weren't they? And I know that the walls were weak, so I guess, but maybe you could argue the case that the walls sort of sealed the smell in a bit until it was sort of shot to pieces.
Yeah, but you'd still smell it. Even if the fridge is closed and there's something rotten in it, you can sometimes still smell it.
But what I thought was great about that is, and I guess that's sort of like the location they shot it on and the cinematography, you really get a sense of the heat, or at least I did. So when you see all these body bags in the wall and you hear the flies and you see the reactions of the actors, I thought that was perfect, because that to me was almost like a sensory experience. Like, I felt like I was there with them.
Yeah.
And that was really just dark and one of the creepiest things you'll probably see in a movie from last year.
Okay, let's move on.
So more tension.
Bridge scene.
The highway, the bridge scene.
This scene was amazing. This one of my favourite scenes of last year.
I would like to sort of stopwatch this scene to find out exactly how long it goes for. I think but the tension plays out.
The tension plays out more because they think they're being followed at the very start when they pick up the witness. I think he's a witness. I keep on calling him a witness. He gets picked up, and they're going through the streets of Mexico, and suddenly traffic jam. And I think I think it's about 2 minutes long, them driving to the bridge. And then they get on the bridge and they're slowly creeping forwards, and people have to get out the car and make sure that the area is secured. Then you see some people twitching, and you see a gun in the back of the car, and they just think, okay. They aim their guns at them, getting ready to shoot. And then the tension just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And brilliant execution as well. Very quick scene, but brilliant execution of that tension.
Absolutely. I'm trying to remember now. I can't remember if for most of that scene there's no score behind it. It's just all just quiet as the tension
I think there's
ramps.
a couple of dun.
Yeah.
Like really, really light duns with like a helicopter noise maybe? I can't remember. Probably not, but
I mean, this film is up for Best Original Score as well, and we haven't really talked about the music in it much. Johan Johansson did the music.
What a
good soundtrack, but I'm struggling to remember it now. I think it works for the movie when you watch it. It definitely does enhance the movie, but it's not one you'd probably go out and buy on CD or anything like digital download. I'm a 90s kid, so I still think that CDs are a thing now.
What's a CD? All I have is vinyl.
But believe it, it's going to get to that stage eventually. CDs, well, they're almost a thing of the past.
CDs will become the new vinyl.
So I'm trying to think of any other. So then later on in the film, I guess we sort of jump more towards the end now.
We finally find out what's going on. They go.
Josh Brolin's behind it all.
Josh Brolin's behind it all, basically. They go into a kind of, I'd say, cave, which is the way that some people are crawling across the border, and they figure out it's the way that they're smuggling the drugs. They kill a couple of people in the tunnels, and Emily Blunt's character is meant to go left and follow the crew. She instead goes straight on because she didn't see where everyone else went, and she finds Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin's character basically trading off the drugs.
Yeah.
So she realizes that they're the people who are actually smuggling the drugs in, which is bad to start off with. You think, oh, Benicio del Toro, you sly character, we don't like you anymore. And then the shift of the film focuses on him.
Yeah.
And it focuses on why he took the drugs. His backstory suddenly becomes fleshed out. And you realize that he has a dark past with his family basically being killed because of these drug smugglers. And he basically goes on a very similar rampage to, No Country for Old Men. Yeah. Basically kills person, goes to the next person, kills person, goes to the next person, until he breaks his way all the way to the top, and then we get to the dinner scene.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
Brilliant film. Brilliant scene.
He meets his maker, basically, the guy who was behind the murder of his wife and daughter.
He was initially a lawyer.
Yeah. And, he sits at the head of the table, and the dad's sort of like telling his children, carry on eating. It's all fine. Don't worry about it. There's just a strange guy here pointing a gun at me. They have an exchange of dialogue, and I think that the guy basically says, not in front of my wife and kids.
And he says, okay, and then he shoots his wife and kids.
And you don't see it, which is fantastic. It's just Benicio del Toro sitting there, and he just casually moves the silencer pistol. You hear 3 shots, 3 falls to the ground.
And you see the guy's face just drop. And you see the fear come into his eyes. And suddenly, a character who was so foreboding, and you heard so much about him throughout the entire film, and the amount of hatred that Benicio del Toro has for this guy, and he suddenly becomes like a kid. He suddenly becomes a scared kid in the shell of a man's body, and it's just brilliantly acted scene.
Yeah, and what I love is Benicio del Toro's just lack of remorse or anything like that. He's just a shell of a man. He is just this hired sort of gun now, and he does this, but there's no joy in it afterwards. There's no sorrow or anything like that. He just does it, and he's almost like a Terminator in that one scene. Yes. He's just robotic in his features, and I thought that spoke volumes for the character. And what I also liked about it, sort of how the film culminates and how it ends, is his interaction with Emily Blunt towards the end, where he brings in basically a form telling her that she's got to sign it, which will basically tell the authorities and everything like that everything they did was by the book, and that no shady shit went down or anything like that. It was all done above board. And obviously she wants to stick to her guns. She's the sort of the intrepid FBI agent, the idealistic one. Good cop, yes.
Benicio del Toro is the bad cop.
and she's like, I'm not signing this. I can't sign this.
Yeah.
After everything I've seen, I'm not going to sign this. And what I liked about it also was that Benicio del Toro's character sees her almost as a daughter figure.
Yeah.
So he has that respect for her, and he wants to see her, make it out of this. But he says, look, if you don't sign this paper, I'm going to have to shoot you. So make your decision. And it's sort of...
You could see her breaking down at that point.
Yeah. And I think that his character understands it. Like, when she... Like, you can see he doesn't try and, like, hurry her along or anything like that. He gets it, and you get the impression that he was obviously in that situation himself, probably in the past. And he's sort of been caught up in this system now. But it's that... And I love when characters do this, where they have that shared mutual respect for each other at the end. Like, it may be quite bad, it may be turbulent.
Yeah.
But they're like, when she chooses not to shoot him at the end, there is that moment, and I love that their characters came to that point at the end. I thought it was a fantastic way to round their characters off, and a really, really nice character arc, not only for Emily Blunt's character, but for Benicio del Toro's as well. He's finally sort of found peace, I think.
Yeah. And from there, you just don't know what's going to happen. And the unknowing is just, good end.
This is a fantastic movie, but please never make a sequel.
No, God, no.
I think this is fantastic how
this
it
is one of
ends.
those films where it doesn't need a sequel. Just like The Usual Suspects, another brilliant Benicio del Toro film. No need no sequels. I know that films get sequels nowadays, and I know this will probably get a sequel, but I don't want a sequel.
Sicario 2 Electric Boogaloo. I don't even know what to call it, but I really don't want a sequel. I thought it was just fantastic ending to the film, and everything was just tied up perfectly. Going back to that scene that you said when she goes into the caves, isn't it? Is it the caves that she's going through?
Yeah.
I thought that how that was filmed, it reminded me a lot of Zero Dark 30, the ending of that movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of POV shots and looking through sort of like the goggles and everything of the people on the ground. I thought that was filmed fantastically as well. And then when she sees what's going down between Josh Brolin and Benicio del Toro, she sort of has a Luke Skywalker, that's not true, that's impossible moment.
Yeah.
But no, fantastic film. If I'm going to give another recommendation, please support this film. Buy it. Watch it many times. Enjoy it.
But,
it's one of the best crime action thrillers.
However, if you're given the choice between this film and Brooklyn, watch Brooklyn.
Both very, very different films, but yes, see both of these films.
If somehow you have the choice between Sicario and Brooklyn, I don't know how you would come down to that decision unless you were watching this podcast, but just go for it.
I don't know. It's very different tastes. As I said, they're two different genres. One's sort of a coming of age movie, I guess, a romantic film.
Coming of age romantic film versus crime action drama.
Yeah, this is like the cartel and the FBI going against them. It's a very different. I don't think you'd see like.
And then the characters are Mexican American or Irish and Italian. So it's a really different film.
Maybe Julie Walters' character was hiding like in the walls of her apartment with like just dead bodies everywhere of all the previous residents of that building. And that's what the TV show is going to be about. Forever ruined Brooklyn for you. But that'll do it for our review on Sicario. So let us know in the comments what you thought of Sicario. Did you think it was as great as we did? Or were there some things that you weren't happy about? Let us know. Let's get a conversation going. You can follow us at Facebook and Twitter. The links to those are in the description below. So please join, like, subscribe, follow all those. So yeah, this is another one we sort of checked off on the Oscar movies. We've got a fair few more Oscar films to do reviews on, which we'll get to. And we've also got our Oscar live stream, which we're sort of talking about in every single one of our videos now. But that will be on February 28th, I guess sort of into the 29th for us with the time difference. But we will have times and certain dates for that and everything like that. We'll list that once we know what's going on with that. But yeah, we're going to do a live stream for the entire Oscars. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a group of us. We're going to have games. We want a big crowd for that. So please spread the word.
Tell your friends. And if you're just watching the Oscars on the sidelines and have it on silent and then just have us commenting on it, brilliant, amazing. And we hope that we'll be up for the entire thing. It's going to be very early in the morning for us. But yeah, it's just going to be a fun event. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. make it international. We want some people from America tuning in. We want some British people tuning in. Anywhere, just tune in. We'll have fun. You guys can have fun. You can chat to us. It'll be cool. Peace.
And we shall try to be as entertaining as possible. We'll do our absolute utmost best.
And if all else fails, we'll start playing Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah. Oh, that would be fun. That's not a bad idea, actually. But anyway, yeah, tune in for that and all our other reviews. Will probably be some reactions along the way too. Get subscribing, get commenting, and we'll see you in the next video. So until next time, thanks for listening.